Did somebody at some point in time decide they were going to make me an archetype of America and then subject me to some sort of secret, unconstitutional proceeding with an understanding that what were they going to make me the ram? Were they going to put the sins of the people on my head and then slaughter me as the sin offering? Hmm. And apparently they lost and I won, even though I didn't even know. And to be honest with you, if somebody had let me know, then they might have been in a better position. See, a little over 3 years ago, I attempted to file a motion, a writ of mandamus, concerning trafficking of children for Medicare fraud and pension fraud. There is an announcement right now that the nation of India is set to increase borrowing. They have a bar graph connected to bonds for the nation of India. It's horrifying. I'll tell you why. Because they bond it as debt, and it's not debt, it's obligation. And when you lie to people and you allow them to actually work off the debts of others that don't meet their obligations because they think they have right of first access to whatever your consummatables are, including when you're a child, it has a way of accruing. And somehow in the last 10 years, this perverse priority has said that biodata needs to be acquired under circumstances identified as disabled or distressed. Now, if you've ever seen people that routinely engage in plasma donations, you know that it is a very, very horrifying experience to see somebody who otherwise was lucid go and get their genetic materials taken out of them for some small amount of money and then have it put into some sort of centrifuge that disassociates the particulates, and then somebody else underwrites it because then you're trying to talk to them and you understand that whatever has gone into the underwriting on their biological materials has manifested in their unconscious and finds conscious expression through the things they say and especially the things they write. But these people have been at the margins for a long time. Did Barack Obama and those who supported him, you know, thought he was worthy of a Nobel Peace Prize before he even announced his political agenda once he got to office? Did they agree to create a system whereby people were supposed to give their actual genetic materials as part of an alternative currency based on genetic data? Is that what GenBank is? Was GenBank supposed to be used to meet obligations connected to the Paris Climate Accord? And in the course of that, did it also correlate with subjecting children to bioengineering paradigms, whereby after a 2 year experimental phase in the United States, there was a conference in Kenya about entrepreneurship around the financial capabilities of children? Did President Barack Obama experiment on his own children in order to make them into a specific kind of prototype or product line that was then sold off to African entrepreneurs, or rather, others interested in entrepreneurship via Africa? See, you take children from poor communities, tell them they're going to have an opportunity, subject them to secret experiments, Don't give them and their communities the education to understand what's going on. Objectify them. Then at some point invite somebody from the community, maybe a few people from the community, to participate within your sphere. And after they meet requirements that demonstrate they understand the expectations of their performance, including what would be considered an acceptable offer of gratitude for all they've been offered by being able to meet with such illustrious people, then you can tell them they can go become entrepreneurs in their own communities. Obama did not meet his obligations. There was at least a 25% that he did make. But my understanding is by the time he left office, there was 75% of what he had committed to the Paris Climate Accords that did not get met. I've kept track. During the Davos conference in Switzerland, there was a drone strike on a refugee camp in Kenya. I felt it. I saw it. I had to process some sort of tax connected to what happened. That was just the first. Over and over again. They used children. At some point, when I came to Dallas, I found the specific investment scheme that's a part of the Dallas Fire and Pension System, based on an island, not in the Caribbean, a financial services firm in one of these islands that has special rules. It has percentages. And the way it works is that one country at one percentage has a certain product line, and then another country at a certain percentage has another product line, and then a third country. But when it gets to the taxation, it goes through Nigeria, and whatever ends up at the end goes to Kenya. And I've been watching it for years. It's that precise. Now, somehow it was supposed to get twisted and turned to Lebanon for redistribution. And I think that they did that because for the last couple of years they've been trying to code Lebanon to being involved with marijuana and hashish. And now that they're doing these specific kinds of chemical warfare exercises in Lebanon, this is supposed to provide the segue to the implementation of the next phase of their 420 scheme domestically. Do you know who calls those hits in Nigeria, guys? Why am I saying this? Why does this have anything to do with the India bond market? Because workers' rights right now is going through the police department, having to do with cell phone usage. You didn't want to pay attention when it was Medicare fraud and Social Security fraud that was being used as a justification for trafficking children. I don't think India's talking about borrowing because they're having a currency crisis. What is one to do? If you lost your case because you decided to make me America, maybe that's because you didn't go to war for what your projection of America did. See, the way I see it, narco-terrorists infiltrated the government. And many of these narco-terrorists got emboldened through their college years, their sororities, their fraternities, their scholarships, the nice little stoles they get to wear at graduation when they get special honors. All those privileges that we're supposed to aspire to, but ultimately we're supposed to believe we have to go in debt to acquire 25 years down the road. I've got, just so you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 430 year, 129 year and 9 month, and 129 year and 6 month. If they were obligations, I'd be in very good shape. Every child you let get raped for your finance scheme in order to cover up your debt ends up getting dispossessed of the capability of knowing financial security because someone meets their obligations. But I can't acknowledge, and I can't actually verify that as long as you keep trying to use me as a loner without confirmation and get out of the way of me meeting my obligations. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's just in 1991. Do you have any idea how many 30-year bonds the United States set up in 2000? Now, I didn't agree when I was 13 years old to take on even one 30-year bond. I shouldn't be responsible for every 30-year bond. I don't know who thinks it's okay to bond a 13-year-old. But that's when you apparently started literally stealing from me. And you didn't acknowledge that I met the obligation for the one on my birthday this year. Somebody else thought they were entitled to that, and they have not performed the obligation. What are they going to do with the 1, 2, 3, 4 others? What are they going to do with the 4 others? Because they're not going to be able to meet those obligations as long as they stand in my way and claim that it's theirs, right? You put this on me. Somehow it was okay to swap it out, but you didn't do the job. That's only 5 30-year bonds in 1 year. And 9 years later, do you have any idea how many 30-year bonds were set up? If you won't get the fuck out of my way and stop lying about what you actually did so that I can meet 30-year obligations set up on me when I was first becoming sexually active, what the fuck do you expect to do for the next 10, 20, 30 years? What is any other country going to do as long as the United States lies about this? Whoever you were that thought you were going to spend 10 years trying to make me a test case. I mean, on one hand, you should feel like you've accomplished something. See, I developed this technique at some point in time when everybody lied to me about what they were really doing. I said, if you hit me, then I'm going to take what you hit me with. I didn't know you started sexually abusing me when I was that young. Now, if you admit that you were not the appropriate person to try to define my life, then maybe someone can start. But if your whole deal was squirrel her away and let all of that stuff default, do you know who that says you are? Do you know who that says you are? If you're in India, or if you're an Indian American, first generation, second generation, especially if you think that you're in what they call the biomedical sector, you really need to take what I just said seriously. If you're in the financial sector, you really need to take what I just said seriously. See, somebody from your way of being, a certain element of your culture, completely misidentified what they determined my caste assignment was. I think it had to do with the fact I look like this. If you're going to start trying to do what I saw you do on that graph, let me tell you, you're 3 years overdue paying attention to your own people trafficking children for Medicare and Social Security fraud. So obligate yourselves accordingly.